Part 40. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 391. The second level is the material collection point. The robot voice with the tall round head in front of him, who was still waiting for someone else, narrated in a serious manner, candidate number 19005, Bai Chun, applied for the command department. The supplies he received were a backpack, 2 sets of camouflage uniforms, a folding saber, an electronic radar, and a thermos cup. 10 bottles of nutrient solution. Candidates are asked to count the items in person and check whether the items are damaged. The robot will not be responsible after leaving the supply point. Bai Chun looked at a few scattered things on the table, fiddled with them expressionlessly, and finally picked up the electronic radar to check. Different from the current detailed map radar of interstellar technology, where you can view detailed map distribution and images with just one click, this electronic radar is just a fool's machine, with only the green dots represented by itself and the red dots represented by other candidates distributed on it. Dots, red dots, and green dots overlap and cover each other so densely that it is impossible to tell who is who. I don't even know what the distance between the 2 points represented by the dots on the electronic radar is and the distance between the 2 people in reality. We have to wait until we have an on-site inspection in the examination room before we can conduct data analysis. No problem, Bai Chun answered the robot that distributed supplies after reading the electronic radar. Then he picked up the backpack on the side and put everything into the backpack, except for a folding saber that was put in his pocket. Then she held her backpack and found a seat nearby, waiting for others to come in. The 2 checkpoints in the flying boat are both in the lobby, so Bai Chun can clearly see the candidates who are entering the checkpoints and receiving supplies while sitting here. This is probably also a benefit that the military academy provides to the first few candidates for the liberal arts exam. After she enters first, she can observe in advance the majors applied for by all the candidates in her own examination room. The major you apply for will most likely determine what the candidate is good at. Of course, there are also hidden ones. For example, she is good at pharmacy, but she applied for the command department, so applying for the major can only be a preliminary judgment, and you cannot truly understand what a person is good at. Diddy, illegal items found. At this time, there was a sudden commotion at the first level, and Bai Chun subconsciously looked up. I saw a boy who was so anxious that he even took out 2 pockets on his body and shouted, "I really don't have anything else to hide, teacher. I really don't have anything else. Is this robot broken?" The middle-aged female teacher looked at him seriously. "It's impossible. The robots in our first military academy are strictly inspected before they go to work. If it says there are illegal items on your body, there must be illegal items. You also have a small shirt. I haven't opened my pocket yet, so I'll take a look." The male candidate broke the jar and pulled it out while holding his clothes. A black thing floated down from inside. The middle-aged female teacher reached out and quickly took it, and saw that she had an open palm with a small black rapeseed on it. The male examinee's eyes were cross-eyed, and his expression was hard to explain. No, a small rapeseed is also an illegal item. The middle-aged female teacher put the rapeseed into a transparent bag in his new space, then gave him a cold look and said sternly, "The rapeseed will grow into green vegetables after being spawned by a wood-type superpower. It's food supplies, so of course it counts." Male candidates. Other candidates. They hurriedly rummaged through their pockets to avoid hiding any seeds. If seeds as small as rapeseed fell into the gaps in their clothes, they would not notice it for a while. The male candidate who handed in the rapeseed was finally released through the scan this time. It can be seen that it was indeed the fault of the rapeseed that he was stopped just now. Bai Chun silently watched them enter the flying boat one after another. She also found a few acquaintances among these people. Needless to say, Quan Lang is not mentioned for now. In addition, there is Lin Guiyan, a girl other than her in the top 10, Mutao, who was very upset about her in the literary test yesterday, Lang. It's a good thing they didn't sign the agreement just to get a small advantage, otherwise they would have to act as bodyguards for Zhou Lang. In addition to the people, she also discovered that the materials received were also different depending on the majors she applied for. Camouflage uniforms, folding sabers, nutrient solutions, and thermos cups are all standard, but electronic radar is only available to those who apply for the command department, and the Mecha individual soldier department distributes a robotic arm. The Department of Medicine allocates a 4-piece set of equipment: palm-sized pot, beaker, test tube, and igniter. The Mecha manufacturing department is a crane. The Warhymn series is a sheet of music. The medium plant line is the seeds of 3 mutant vines. The Department of Management is a discriminator that can view the majors applied by other candidates. As for the Economics Department, there is nothing, only 50 original general points. It is probably money used to buy lives. After all candidates passed the 2 levels, the flying boat started. The surroundings of the FIAs who are completely dark, and the outside situation cannot be seen. The activities of all candidates are limited to the FIAs who hall, which means that they cannot obtain any other information except waiting and observing other candidates. Bai Jianchun hugged her backpack and leaned on the back of her chair with half-squinted eyes. She observed the candidates in the same examination room without saying a word. If there were no accidents and they did not cross the examination room area, they would be her in this martial arts examination. Competitors. Quan Lang looked at the cold look on her face and didn't dare to come near her. Instead, he secretly found the nearest seat and sat down, hoping that they could act together when they entered the examination room. He had read a lot of posts last night about the literary test of the first military academy. Among them, the name of Bai Jianchun, the second placer in the literary test, was mentioned the most besides Sheng Biu, the first placer. Her popularity was even vague. There is a tendency to surpass Sheng Biu. So he also knew what happened during the run on the East Campus yesterday. Netizens on the post said that this is the real hidden boss. He seems to be weak, but in fact he is very strong and his powers are definitely not weak according to visual inspection. If she hadn't known the way, she would have been able to distance herself from other candidates in minutes and reach the examination room in 3 or 4 minutes. When he saw the news, Quan Lang also specially found a shared video on Xin Wang and watched the video of the live literary test from beginning to end. Although the literary test competition on the East Campus was not as good as the one he was in yesterday, the battle between the dragons and tigers in the campus was fierce, but it was not bad, so Bai Jianchun was the first person to crush all the candidates from the East Campus, and his speed was evident. In addition, the distance from the school gate to the East Campus and West Campus is the same. Judging from the time, Bai Jianchun was also the first person from the 2 campuses to arrive at the examination room. If you can team up with her, it will definitely be much safer. Quan Lang, who was assigned to an examination room, immediately felt high in morale. He was thinking about how to form a team with her and let him pass the martial arts examination with ease. Unfortunately, he was destined to be disappointed, because the military school announcement rang again. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 392. Ding dong, we have reached the sky above the examination room number 2. The top 10 in the liberal arts test will have the right to extra time and can enter the examination room first. The first place in the liberal arts examination can enter the examination room half an hour early. The second place in the liberal arts examination can enter the examination room 25 minutes early. Enter the examination room. The third place in the liberal arts test can enter the examination room 20 minutes in advance. The fourth to sixth place in the liberal arts examination can enter the examination room 15 minutes in advance. The 7th to 10th place in the liberal arts examination can enter the examination room 10 minutes in advance. Bai Jianchun also has news here. Bai Jianchun, the second candidate in the literary test, number 19005, does he choose to enter the examination room in advance? She raised her eyes and nodded yes. Immediately afterwards, the system announcement sounded in the number 1 spaceship they were in. Ding dong. Bai Qianchun, the second candidate in the literary test, candidate number 19005, please prepare for 5 minutes to exit the boat and prepare to leave the boat. Ding dong. Lin Guiyan, the sixth candidate in the literary examination, candidate number 105, please prepare for 15 minutes to exit the boat and prepare to leave the boat. After the broadcast, Bai Qianchun and the sixth player, Lin Guiyan, immediately received numerous cryptic glances. Bai Qianchun didn't care and let them watch. She closed her eyes and simply began to close her eyes to rest. According to her observation, the candidates here are not much of a threat to her. When she closed her eyes, Quan Lang was so depressed that he completely stopped thinking about acting together after entering the examination room. Forget it, it depends on everyone running. Although they are in the same examination room, the area of the same examination room is also very large. They entered the examination room 25 minutes apart, and they were not sure how far away they were from the beginning. It's definitely not realistic to act together. He still works hard on his own to try not to be eliminated. It's not too late to hug him when he meets someone later. As he lay flat on the back of the chair behind him, he could hear Zhou Lang and his two losers who were lucky enough to be assigned together talking arrogantly behind him. Zhou Lang looked proud. It doesn't matter if you're in the top 10 in the literary test. You still have to take the martial arts test. If the two girls encounter danger, they will definitely cry in fear. The two losers quickly flattered him. Yes, 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 you still have to look at our brother Zhou. Our brother Zhou is the son of an admiral. The martial arts test is definitely not a problem. He can be easily captured. Quan Lang curled his lips. Is it really okay for a person who was knocked out by his impact to be so happy? The voices of Zhou Lang and his two bastards were not low, at least everyone around them heard them. Bai Qianchun closed her eyes and just thought the annoying mosquitoes were buzzing, but Lin Guiyan, the other eldest lady who was belittled by them, couldn't stand it. Wronged. With a banging sound, she stepped directly on the chair next to Zhou Lang with one of her long legs. Lin Guiyan, with her flaming red lips and arrogant bright face, approached Zhou Lang with annoyance and sarcasm. What did you just say? What are you talking about? Tell me again, who will cry in fear? The two dogs' legs were trembling and they moved aside cautiously. Zhou Lang himself was also startled. Then he stood up, glanced at the woman arrogantly, and replied, What did I say? Lin Guilai raised her red lips flamboyantly, and with a sharp tone in her voice, she sneered, Very good, see you in the examination hall. Then she took off her legs, smiled dangerously at Zhou Lang, turned and left. The candidates watching around were disappointed. This is it, is it over? They also want to see people fighting. Bai Qianchun raised her eyes and glanced at Lin Guiyan with a smile, and then turned to the middle-aged female teacher standing over there. After Lin Guiyan turned around and left, her open eyelids gradually returned to calm, coldly. He seemed to be sitting there with no sense of existence. Bai Qianchun paused, looked away, then looked at the time, got up and walked towards the exit of the flying boat. Bai Qianchun, the candidate number 19005, has confirmed that it is correct and will now enter the examination room. At the exit, a blue light flashed under Bai Qianchun's feet, and then she began to fall downwards. She seemed to be floating downwards as if she was being lifted up by something. The surrounding area was surrounded by there was a blue halo, and nothing else could be seen clearly. After about 5 seconds, she fell down to earth again. The blue halo surrounding her also dissipated, and she was finally able to see her surroundings clearly. This is a relatively open area surrounded by vines and trees without any covering trees. There is a wet water stain under the feet, which is the water soaked up from under the dead branches and rotten leaves. However, What Bai Qianchun first paid attention to was not the surrounding environment, but the pitch-black spaceship in mid-air above her head. Only now did she get a clear view of the entire spaceship that sent them to the examination room. Fias who said it was big or small. After sending her down, it was gradually rising into the sky until it was hidden in the clouds and she was invisible to the naked eye. This is because she doesn't want her to judge the flying trajectory of the flying boat. After Bai Qianchun looked away expressionlessly, she had time to observe the surrounding environment. This is the most common small pool in the tropical rainforest. It has the most algae and vines around it. The surrounding field of view is relatively bright. However, after the circle with a diameter of more than 20 meters, the green plants and trees outside become dense and it is difficult to see clearly. What is going on in the woods? Bai Qianchun glanced at the green moss-filled vines around him, and then looked down at the white training clothes he was wearing. This outfit was too conspicuous in this rainforest, and it seemed that he needed to change first. As soon as this thought came to her mind, she suddenly threw her backpack behind her and jumped back sharply. Only a bang was heard. Where she was standing was a large green-skinned crocodile more than 5 meters long. Its scales were cold and its tail slapped the ground fiercely, sucking the juice from the vines and rotten leaves. Juice splashed, and a pair of vertical pupils showed the coldness and ferocity of a predator. Then it continued to open its big, smelly mouth, crawled with its forelimbs, and rushed towards Bai Qianchun. Its cold teeth are as sharp as jagged teeth, and it can bite through a tough vine as thick as a human waist with one bite. Bai Qianchun narrowed her eyebrows, her face was cold, and she continued to dodge to the side quickly. She touched the dead vine with her feet in a few steps, and jumped onto a vine to build a relatively high position. Bailey Yanmian, beautiful, hiding beautifully. The flowers are blooming, ouch, I'm numb. Bai Qianchun's luck is really bad. As soon as he arrived, he encountered a large forest crocodile. This is an officially rated B-level ferocious beast. The candidates who entered its territory did not end well. 8 out of 10 were injured before escaping from its territory. Brother is the most powerful. I have no luck when it comes to my brother. As soon as I entered the examination room, I entered the territory of the giant anaconda. Now I am fighting with the giant anaconda for 300 rounds. It has been 10 minutes and I still haven't decided who is the winner. Lemon tea. The giant anaconda is on the same level as the forest crocodile. They are both B-level ferocious beasts. Did the school intentionally send the top 2 to the B-level ferocious beasts? This is delivered to your doorstep. Who can tolerate the food? I don't think it's the giant anaconda and the forest crocodile who attacked, but it's the school's doggy attitude. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 393. There was a lot of discussion on the live broadcast barrage, and everyone was speculating whether the school was deliberately setting up a trap to increase the difficulty by giving priority to the top 10. Bai Qianchun, who was already in it, was completely unaware. At this moment, he was being attacked by a ferocious forest crocodile. The chasing ones were jumping around and dodging. It wasn't that she didn't want to kill the giant forest crocodile with one slap. She completely let go of the ancient martial arts and slapped the forest crocodile to death and shattered its skull. She had the ability. But considering that the live broadcast is happening now, all her actions are under the attention of countless people. Slapping the forest crocodile to death without using any external objects is too exciting and also exposes her strength, so she has to restrain herself. Bai Qianchun pursed her lips, stepped onto another hanging vine with light steps, and looked down at the forest crocodile that was chasing her. The forest crocodile raised its head, and its mouth with jagged teeth opened wide, with corrosive and stinky saliva sticking to it. Its scarlet vertical pupils looked at the prey above, which was even more cruel and irritable than before. It was obvious that it had failed to eat it again and again. The delicious snacks delivered to the door made it feel extremely bad, and its temper became even worse. Its powerful tail destroyed the surrounding vines, like a typhoon passing through, with broken limbs everywhere. It stared at Bai Qianchun with its eyes raised, its limbs scratching the ground and scratching out heavy scratches, as if it was brewing a fierce storm. It's getting real. Bai Qianchun's eyebrows were cold and her cold eyes narrowed. It just so happened that she didn't want to deal with this forest crocodile anymore. The forest crocodile opened its bloody mouth and jumped up, higher than ever before. The sight was obscured and a shadow fell. The ferocious crocodile came with a gust of fishy wind. Lemon tea, be careful. Huakai, damn, it's over. This giant forest crocodile is really angry. This Bai Qianchun is fast. He could run away just now, but now he is an idiot. Before he finished typing, he was frightened by the sudden reversal of the situation in the live broadcast, and subconsciously uttered this sentence with a movement of his fingers. At the edge of the dark green water pool in the live broadcast, Bai Qianchun, who originally only knew how to dodge and was chased by the forest crocodile, fought back. Then she raised her hand and threw it, and a green seed sprouted and grew rapidly in mid-air. A green seed like a thorny vine as thick as an arm grew, and one end was held in her hand and swayed. Snapped. There was a violent whipping sound, and the sharp thorns like steel needles were directly thrust into the belly of the flapping forest crocodile, which had the lowest defense. Suddenly, the skin was torn open, blood splashed everywhere, the breeze blew, and there was a strong smell beside the pool. The foul smell of blood. The forest crocodile screamed in pain and fell down from mid-air with a loud bang. 100 miles of stretch, hiss. Lemon tea, ha ha ha, this blow is beautiful, the timing is just right. Who said Bai Qianchun was stupid just now? Stand up. Flowers are blooming silently. Pretending to be dead means that the person is in the underworld and will burn paper if something happens, and it is impossible to stand up alive. Zio, that's not right. Where did she get the thornvine seeds? I remember she is from the command department. Only those from the planting department are given mutant vine seeds. My beloved fruit house, I know this, I know it. The seeds Bai Qianchun got just now when she was hiding from the forest crocodile, and the somewhat dead red thornvine by the pool, she just grabbed it while standing here to avoid it. Got a handful, ha ha ha. I've known for a long time that there was a reason why she deliberately hid here and there instead of fighting head-on. No, it was just to show her weakness to the enemy and give the enemy a fatal blow. Zhan Tianxia, it's so cool. The crocodile in the forest suspected that the crocodile had given birth, ha 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 ha. This schoolgirl is amazing. She pumped hard. Damn, it made this forest crocodile so arrogant. I almost died in this forest crocodile back then. Under its big mouth, 3 strips of flesh were bitten off before escaping from its mouth. Did you pass the exam today? What, brother, did you encounter this forest crocodile before in the martial arts exam? Zhan Tianxia, well, don't you think so, brother? Did you pass the exam today? Your face is covered with bullshit, and you shake hands. We are all in trouble, brother. The shallow scar on the eyelids of this forest crocodile was caused by me. It is very easy to identify. I was also chased by it at that time. Even my mother didn't know. After getting to know him, I finally mustered up the courage to fight it for 300 rounds. I only managed to escape with a broken arm and countless blood marks. Speaking of which, besides this forest crocodile, there is another crisis in this deep pool. Zhan Tianxia, what is it? When I met this forest crocodile, I was not at this pool. It was in a small forest not far away. I originally planned to come to this small pool to get water, but when I met this blocking crocodile, I couldn't beat it, so I went in another direction, escaped. Did you pass the exam today? Fortunately you didn't come over, otherwise your little life would have been in danger. There was a small patch of swamp flowers blooming by this pool. I killed the forest crocodile and escaped, and then I was sitting there. I rested here for a while. Who knew that there were forest crocodiles in the light and swamp flowers in the dark? The smell of the flowers was very light and very similar to the rotten smell coming from this deep pool. When my hands and feet became soft, my whole body felt hot. It was like a stove, and the toxins in the body exploded out of control. I almost spontaneously commusted before I realized there was such a dangerous thing in this place. Fortunately, the martial arts test at the first military academy was not as strict as this time, and the candidates were asked to choose 3 things they had prepared to bring in. One of the things I chose was the antidote made by the president of the Pharmacist Association. At that time, I realized something was wrong with my body. He immediately took it out and drank it, thus saving the dog's life from being too poisoned. After the martial arts test, he went to the hospital to get a detoxification injection that specifically removes the swamp flower toxin, and then the toxin was eliminated. Zhantiangxia, then this schoolgirl has been here for a long time. She won't be killed by the game. That would be a pity. She slapped the forest crocodile, and her force value has actually reached the standard. The rest of the people watching the live broadcast also became worried, and the excitement they originally felt because the forest crocodile was beaten to pieces was gone. Fan Chun Hotel. Aunt Huang, who was watching, was also anxious after seeing these comments. What should I do? It's a pity that Xiao Chun has such good results and is eliminated. Why is her luck so bad? Su Shuhan comforted her dryly. Don't worry. Maybe Xiao Chun has a way. She knows the inside information, and she must have a close relationship with the upper management of Muyuangxing. She also has a lot of pills on her body, and she has something to do with the Muyuangxing experimental park. There is a high possibility of a relationship. Maybe she also has the ability to roll balls and can make her own antidote. Aunt Huang turned her head and looked at her husband in surprise, her eyes shining. Hey, I didn't expect you to have a bright mind this time, and your analysis was good. What you guessed might actually be possible. Uncle Su twitched the corners of his lips and showed a happy giggle. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziy. Chapter 394. Bai Qianchun expressionlessly tied up the limbs of the dying forest crocodile. After making sure that it was no longer a threat, he walked straight towards the waterhole. Everyone before the live broadcast immediately held their breath and felt nervous. After inhaling the smell of swamp flowers, the toxins will enter the human body. However, the toxins must undergo a quantitative change process. The human body will not have obvious feelings until it accumulates to a certain level. It has been almost 10 minutes now, and it stands to reason that the toxins will also. She has almost accumulated it, and she should have felt it. Pickled pepper chicken feet. What did she do in the past? There are swamp flowers over there. The closer you get, the more toxins you inhale. Isn't the wisest choice now to leave here as soon as possible? There is not enough toxin accumulation in the body for the time being. It was not in the outbreak stage, and as long as she stopped inhaling it, she could wait until after the exam to get the antidote injection. Society Sister Gu, you are not a sensible person at first glance. Even if the swamp flower toxin has not reached a certain level and has not reached the explosive stage, as long as the toxin exists in the body, it will corrode the body. Now is the beginning of the martial arts exam. It's not certain whether she can last for 10 days. The right solution is to find a way to detoxify her. Now I've heard that poisonous plants grow around other plants that are incompatible with them, but I don't know if that's true. Botany master, let me explain this. It is correct to say that poisonous plants also have competing plants growing around them, but this only contains 80% of the poisons, and there is still a 20% possibility it is surrounded by the same poisonous species, and this swamp flower happens to be only 20% of such a small number. Lemon tea, no, what about my goddess Bai? Doesn't she also have the same misunderstanding about poisons as the social sister before her, and she only understands half of it? Papaya is so sweet. She pulled it up and pulled out a small red grass. I checked the information and found that the poisonous plant that grows with the swamp flower is called a plant. It is small and blood red all over. It can make people dizzy. Mild toxins that cause vomiting, and at worst can cause coma. Lemon tea, fortunately, my throat was not sealed by blood. My white goddess can still survive, as long as she doesn't swallow the whole grass. At this time, Bai Qianchun didn't know the worries of everyone before the live broadcast. After taking a look at the swamp flowers blooming over there, he was holding a piece of grass in his hand and observing it carefully. Then he bent down and pulled out a few more without haste. Strain. After plucking out one plant, she went to the other side and plucked a small patch of more than a dozen swamp flowers that were as big as a fingernail. Before the live broadcast, the audience was confused. What was she going to do? Does the predecessors pick flowers to benefit future generations? Thinking about it this way, this candidate has quite a noble mind, and is completely different from the sinister candidates in the past who said, "If I fail, the candidates behind me will not be able to escape." All the sentimental little girls were moved to tears. This young lady was so kind, and her intention in picking flowers was really heartwarming. Bai Qianchun, ah, noble thoughts? What is that? She did not pick swamp flowers to benefit the candidates behind her, she simply thought these flowers were useful. As for the toxin of the swamp flower, she hasn't noticed it yet. If she had a gold or silver needle on her body, she could force the toxin out on the spot, but if she doesn't have one now, the procedure will be a little more troublesome. As for the toxin, she has the internal power to suppress it. It won't be poisonous for half a month or even half a month, let alone 10 days, so she is not in a hurry now. She is still thinking about using swamp flowers to make some poison pills in case of emergency. Needs. As for detoxification, she also had an idea. She was not idle that year on Mu-Un-Seeing. After knowing that she knew very little about the various poisonous flowers, poisonous plants, and beasts in the interstellar, she deliberately took some time to make up for it. Toxins like swamp flowers need to be accumulated. They are not poisons that can seal the throat at the sight of blood. In fact, just an ordinary detoxification pill can cure it. However, there are no detoxification pills here, and there are no medicinal materials to make detoxification pills. She can only settle for the next best thing. Using the swamp flower's poisonous symbiotic plant grass to fight poison with poison, an antidote specifically targeted at swamp flower toxins was made. With this thought in mind, Bai Qianchun moved quickly and fetched a few stones from the edge of the pool, walked back to the open space beside the Senleng crocodile that it had pulled out, and built a simple small stove with the stones. Then he walked up to the forest crocodile and opened its big mouth. Under its shocked and horrified gaze, he punched it with his fist and knocked out a sharp fang. He went to the waterhole and cleaned it, then found a wooden stick. Spawned several thin vines, tied the tines and wooden sticks together, and made a short handle. I weighed the handmade tool with my hand and felt that it felt pretty good. I waved it in mid-air. Well, it was quite handy. Then she found a large hard and smooth stone, and began to use the fangs of the forest crocodile to dig holes in the middle of the stone, preparing to make a stone pot. The forest crocodile, who was tied up next to him and had a leaky mouth, turned red with grievance. This cruel little snack actually broke its teeth to dig holes for rocks. It was an insult. This was an insult. It was a shame and a huge humiliation. Pickled pepper chicken feet, MMMP, doesn't she want to sit down and make soup? Lemon tea, look at the number 1 player next door who is still fighting with excitement just after he finished fighting the giant anaconda. Another rainbow toucan came. Look here again, the forest crocodile is lying down, the white goddess is sitting, and the forest crocodile is tied up. Goddess Bai started to make soup. Poof, what should I do if she has a little bit of sympathy for the number 1 next door? The donkey rides backwards. Wait, are you sure she is making soup? Zhantiangxia, damn it, look what this elementary school girl added to the stone pot: the blood of the forest crocodile, a grass, and some unknown grasses and flowers around it. Why does it feel a bit like a witch brewing a magic potion? Woolen cloth. Flower girls don't bother, so do I. The assignment was given to the boy next door. Isn't he making antidote pills? I read the post and found out that this girl boarded the starship from Muyuan Star. She should be from Muyuan Star. I heard that the master of Muyuan Star is rubbing it. The meatballs are made in a pot. Lemon tea, ah, yes, 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 my goddess Bai must be making an antidote. You ignorant people, what kind of witches make potions? How could my sister Bai, who is so beautiful and cold like a fairy, be the antidote, witch? As a result, a series of heated discussions began in the live broadcast room about whether she was making an antidote. Some said she was just trying to please others. Even if she was from Wuyuan planet, she would not necessarily know how to roll balls. Others said she just had this ability. This person must be the new disciple accepted by Master Muyuan Star. Even if he is not a new disciple, he is still someone related to Master Muyuan Star. Even Cao Jiajia, who has returned to school and has learned several kinds of meatballs, is full of curiosity about Bai Qianchun on the screen. Bai Qianchun's current face is only known to a few high-level officials on Muyuan planet. For people like Cao Jiajia who have gone out, Bai Qianchun will not take the initiative to tell her about her fake face just in case. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 395. The thick dark green liquid in the stone pot was rolling gurglingly and large bubbles were emerging. Bai Qianchun finally had time to sit down and take a look at the task assigned to her. Ding Dong Command Department Candidate number 19005. Bai Qianchun's tasks are as follows. A required task: in order to reflect the personality charm of the command department as an excellent commander, candidates are required to form 3 or more teams during the martial arts examination, and ensure that all team members complete the task and pass the assessment to become the first military academy student. 4 tasks to be selected. You can choose 3 of the tasks to be selected to complete. 1. Subdued or killed 10 B-level ferocious beasts, now 1/10 completed. 2. Collect 10 officially rated B-grade or above medicinal herbs, now 1/10 completed. 3. Subdue or kill 1 S-level ferocious beast, now completed 0/1. 4. Snatch 30 candidate number plates, now 0/30 completed. After Bai Qianchun finished reading, her cold brows furrowed slightly. The 4 optional tasks were not too difficult. It would not be a problem for her to complete them all. However, the required task was a bit difficult. She was here. There was only one familiar person in examination room number 1, Quan Lang, and the others were not. It was not an easy task to draw others into his team and ensure that he would lead them through the level together. First of all, she had to make sure that the characters of the people who entered her team were good, so that she would be willing to help them pass the entrance exam together. Secondly, someone must be willing to join her team. In this case, except for people she knows who can join her team unconditionally, how can other people who have the ability to pass the level on their own easily let themselves go to multiple commanders, unless those people are too low level to pass the level alone? Only then would I choose to hug my thighs. And those who choose to hug their thighs probably need her help in their tasks. So no matter how you look at it, this required task is troublesome. Bai Qianchun frowned, pinned the number plate with her candidate number on her waist, and then continued to stir the bubbling stone pot with branches. When the water began to boil and the juice began to thicken, slowly inputting the wood power, the green halo was glowing, and he started rolling the balls through a layer of green light. In a stone pot larger than the head, a total of 10 poison balls were mixed with swamp flowers to fight poison with poison. Bai Qianchun picked one of them and threw it into her mouth while it was hot, crunchy. Zhan Tianxia, damn, I really ate it? The assignment was given to the boy next door. Why does this dark green color look like poison? If you dare to eat it, nothing will happen to you. Lemon tea, come on, is there any medical student who can come out and speak out? I have been studying pharmacy for 3 years, I'm sorry, even a regular pharmacy major can't answer this question. This dark green pill is out of line, but I'm sure it's what the second place student in the liberal arts exam just put into the pot. Some small flowers and grasses have slight toxins. Only the blood of forest crocodiles is of some use. Forest crocodiles live here all year round and have developed antibodies to the toxicity of swamp flowers after research by our pharmacy department teacher. The blood of forest crocodiles has certain detoxification effect. Pickled pepper chicken claws. So, if she only drinks the blood of forest crocodiles, maybe she can detoxify? Oh my god, let's just say, she cooked a pot of stuff at random and really thought that she could be as talented as the Muyuan Star Master and casually make detoxifying pills. It's just sensational. Now the potion is the teacher is not allowed to analyze all the herbs 10 or 8 times with precision instruments in the laboratory before starting to figure out the formula, and then carefully prepare it step by step. How could it be possible that she was so casual and started boiling the pot without even analyzing the herbs? Success. Peanut butter. Having studied pharmacy for a year, I know how difficult it is to prepare a new medicine. I agree with what the person above said and just wait for her to be poisoned. My brother is the best in the world, ha 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 ha. Sit back and wait. Add 1. Passing by to watch a good show, sit and wait. Add 1. As the screen scrolled, the other onlookers before the live broadcast were also a little shaken. In addition, they were not fans of Bai Qianchun in the first place. They were just watching the fun, or were attracted by Bai Qianchun's second place in the literary exam. So after the above analysis, the hope he had for Bai Qianchun suddenly disappeared. However, a small number of fans who were attracted by Bai Qianchun's dashing and heroic appearance of smoking a forest crocodile did not lose their fans. Instead, they plausibly started a fierce war of words with the doubters upstairs and unswervingly expressed their support for Bai Qianchun. Lemon tea, haha, just because you can't make an antidote so quickly doesn't mean that I, Goddess Bai, can't. Why are you all so anxious to make a conclusion so quickly? Zhan Tianxia. That's right, there is always no shortage of geniuses in this world. If you can't do it, it doesn't mean that others can't. Just like the pervert next door to me, I had a cantilever on my head and a spike in my buttocks. I trained hard for several days without sleeping and couldn't learn the advanced action of Thomas's spin, a mecha attack, but the pervert next door learned it at a glance. Damn, genius, it's so irritating. Excellence in mecha manufacturing. So I have such an infuriating genius around me. I learned mecha manufacturing from my teacher for 2 years now. It's difficult to even make a mecha independently. As a result, the elementary school student who just entered school last year after only 1 day of studying with my teacher, he showed his amazing talent. He read the relevant books in 1 week, started to master it in 1 month, and in 2 months he was able to make a mecha independently. Now he is still discussing with the teacher. Innovation has been loaded with weapons. You think it's annoying or not? It's so humming annoying. Sometimes this kind of genius is born to attack people. After my junior student successfully made a mecha, my teacher praised him every day, praising him vigorously, as if he were his own son, and he even sprayed me with blood and said that I as stupid as a pig. MMMP. If the school hadn't been equipped with surveillance cameras and the junior students stayed in the laboratory every day and rarely went out, I was afraid that I could no longer control my evil hands and would have set up sacks for the junior students. Mecha manufacturing genius, horror JPG, which senior is that upstairs? The student was beaten until he obeyed, Hongyang Hui. You little brat, you still want to put a sack on your junior brother? Just wait for me. I think you need to be dealt with again. Mecha manufacturing bar, shock JPG, teacher, why are you watching this live broadcast too? I'm not, I didn't say anything, teacher, please listen to my excuses. The student obeyed after being beaten. You are in the laboratory, right? Wash your neck and let me wait. Mecha manufacturing lever, damn it, W, oh no, brothers, I am afraid that my life is in danger, so I dodge first, then dodge first. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 396. After that, this mecha manufacturing lever brother didn't show up for a long time. He might have been caught and suffered an accident, and his butt was in danger. Suddenly, countless ha 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 comments appeared on the barrage, and the atmosphere in the live broadcast room was cheerful for a while. As a loyal fan of Bai Qian-chun, Lemon Tea immediately took this opportunity to jump out and say, after this incident, Senior Brother Hong taught us with bloody lessons that the world of geniuses is different from that of ordinary people, so those who question Goddess Bai, it's too early for you to question. Zhan Tianxia, in fact, this white schoolgirl has not had any symptoms of poisoning or physical discomfort so far. She even has a rosy complexion. This is the best proof the detoxification pill she made was successful, even if the pill is not completely detoxification, but most of it should have been detoxified, otherwise she wouldn't be looking so good. Lemon Tea, brother, you are so right. The Bai Qian-chun fans who had regained the victory were immediately beaming with joy, while those who had doubted before were embarrassed and did not dare to speak anymore. However, Kuita, a student who had studied pharmacy for 3 years, took the initiative to stand up and said that he was being shallow. Outside the live broadcast, there was joy and harmony, but the atmosphere suddenly became tense again inside the live broadcast. Bai Qian-chun frowned and looked in the direction of the noise, only to see a rainbow toucan chasing 7 people running in her direction. Some of the 7 people were cursing and talking about bad luck. Bai Qian-chun looked calm, lowered her eyes, and sat there without moving. She held the saber in her left hand and the dry wood in her right hand and continued to make a handmade wooden box. There were still 9 useless pills in the stone pot, so she had to use the box. Pack them separately to prevent the medicinal properties from evaporating. The rainbow toucan is getting closer, and so are the footsteps. Ah, Mr. Joe, save me. Suddenly a horrified cry rang out, and the sparse woods in front of them were all messy. A boy with a frightened face was grabbed by a rainbow toucan on his arm, and blood flowed out immediately. The boy was also about to be killed by this. A ferocious big bird took him to the sky. He lifted his feet off the ground and struggled for help, his voice full of panic. But the person he was asking for help from, Zhou Lang, twisted his face and pretended not to see it. Sun Li's heart dropped when he saw his behavior. It was useless for him to support Zhou Lang's bad feet these days. Just now Zhou Lang said that he would recruit him into the team and take him to pass the entrance exam. As a result, now that danger has come, he didn't even say a word. Just when Li Sun thought he was about to be carried up to heaven to end the exam, a golden arrow suddenly shot out. With a popping sound, it penetrated into the wings of the rainbow toucan. The big bird was in pain and screamed out loudly. Sun Li, who was held in its mouth, was immediately released and fell from the air. Among the 7 people, a boy with long bangs covering his eyes jumped out and picked him up without saying a word. Only then did Sun Li, who fell from the air, fall to the ground and get injured. Lin Guiyan saw this and went over to help. While firing golden arrows at the angry rainbow toucan, she mocked Zhou Lang, "Didn't you say that you are in command and lobby us to join your team? Is this how you lead the team? You can't even save your own brother and you still plan to pass the entrance exam with the team members, how can you be so confident?" Zhou Lang's face turned red and he retorted angrily, I'm reasonably avoiding risks. This rainbow toucan has reached S level. The 3 of us combined can't defeat it. I have to ensure that it is absolutely safe for the benefit of the majority. Sacrificing a small part is also decisive as a commander should be, and Sun Li cannot die, he can ask the teacher for help and give up the martial arts exam. Lin Guiyan raised the corner of her mouth mockingly, "Listen to your fart." Zhou Lang suddenly became angry, "What do you mean, woman? If you are so rude, no man will want you in the future." Lin Guiyan sneered, You don't care who wants me. There are many people lining up to ask for my hand in marriage, but you are irresponsible and easily abandon the command of your teammates. Who will want you? With a commander like you who doesn't care about human life, who will if you dare to do things under your hands, you just have to rely on your good background and a promising father, and I will spend a lot of star coins to make you live like a shitty person. Yu Zhoulang's eyes were red, and his chest was about to explode with anger. In this battle, Lin Guiyan was obviously the better one. Sister Guiyan, please stop talking. We'd better deal with this rainbow toucan first. Sister, you shot its wings. It looks very angry, as if it's about to go berserk. Among the seven, a seemingly delicate girl wearing a white training uniform and with big wavy hair suddenly interjected, persuading her in a soft voice. Zhoulang breathed a sigh of relief. Miss Shen is still reasonable and knows that what we should do now is to work together to deal with this rainbow toucan. It doesn't matter that Miss Lin is angry at me. Lin Guiyan took her eyes away from her busy schedule and glanced at the woman. Hey, a little bitch, a shameless one, but they match each other. Lin Fizhu, if you are watching from the side, you won't be afraid that this woman will cuckold you again. Shen Gafei, who was guarded by a tall and silent man behind him, glanced at Lin Guiyan sadly and said in a plaintive voice, Sister Guiyan, I told you that it was a misunderstanding before. I have already explained it clearly to Brother Su. Don't always be so slanderous. Me, even if I regard Sister Guiyan as my best friend, if Sister Guiyan says this to me, I will still be sad. Listening to her delicate and weak voice, Lin Guiyan became more and more irritable. She even attacked the rainbow toucan even more fiercely. Shut up, best friend will run in the literary test. Did you deliberately trip me up on the road and make me enter the examination room late and only get 6th place? Shen Gafei, from the time you used me as a springboard to climb up to this man Lin Fizhu and started dating him, I have seen clearly what you really are. He is a man who talks sweetly but hides his sword, pretends to be pretentious and has a vicious mind. Tears fell from Shen Gafei's eyes, and she acted the ferocious battle scene into a third-rate romance drama. Sister Guiyan, do you hate me so much because I like Brother Su and I robbed Brother Su? I understand, but Sister Guiyan, love does not come first. Brother Su and I truly love each other. Even if you hate me, Sister Guiyan, I will not separate from Brother Su. Not far away, Bai Qian-chun, who had finished making a wooden box and put the pills in it. So what is the situation now? Fighting ferocious beasts or watching a little 3-person romance theater where my little sisters steal my man? To be honest, she is quite interested in this S-class rainbow toucan. One of her 4 tasks to choose from is to subdue or kill an S-class beast. If she can solve this rainbow toucan, it is equivalent to completing one of the optional tasks. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 397. TB 8766, Shock JPG, what is going on? Lin Guiyan likes Lin Fizhu, aren't they 2 cousins? The Lin family, the mother's family of the 5th prince, has been in the limelight recently. These 2 people were even promoted as the young talents of the Lin family's generation. I love Muyuangxing fruit fishing so much. It seems that there are big melons. Come on, hurry up. If anyone knows the inside information, please come up and tell me. Little expert at watching movies and eating melons, yes, it is better to talk about gossip than to fight a vicious beast. This is what I like. Is there anyone with knowledge who can come up and have a chat? Please call me Brother Ching. Ha, isn't this a coincidence? I just heard the news from my buddy a few days ago. Lin Guiyan is a child adopted by the Lin family. She has no blood relationship with the Lin family. She was raised in the Lin family and Lin Fizhu grew up together, and they can be said to be childhood sweethearts. According to my buddy, everyone in their circle thought that Lin Guiyan was Lin Fizhu's child bride. She might get engaged and married in the future. Unexpectedly, she suddenly appeared some time ago. A Shen Gafei intervened and rushed to have sex with Lin Fizhu. No, wouldn't the childhood sweethearts break up? Super big popcorn. I also have inside information. Shen Gafei is from the Shen family of the fourth prince's mother's family. Although she is just a side branch, the elders of the Lin family still disagree with Lin Fizhi being with her. They know a little about the upper class affairs. Everyone in the crowd knew that the Lin family and the Shen family didn't like each other. Now it was strange that the Lin family would agree to the two of them being together, but Lin Fizhi probably really loved the girl from the Shen family. For her, even his own family, the elders, dared to contradict each other, but no, the Shen family, who originally did not agree with them being together, became ambiguous and acquiesced that they were together. Please call me Brother Qing, ha ha ha. The Shen family is planning to let Shen Gafei kidnap someone back to become their son-in-law. This is the best way to anger the Lin family. Lin Fizhi is the eldest son of the Lin family and the leader of the next generation of the Lin family. It would definitely not be a loss to abduct him back. The live broadcast screen was busy watching gossip. Lin Guiyan, Shen Gafei, and others were also bickering fiercely. No one thought that they were at a critical juncture at this moment. Suddenly one person finally couldn't bear it anymore. Damn it, I asked you guys to stop arguing. I don't want to see what the situation is now. I'm about to be beaten to death. You talk about love and love. Now is the time to talk about love. A roar mixed with anger was heard, and Ziji, the young man who was at the front among the seven and was responsible for most of the rainbow toucan's ferocious attacks, gave up. He rolled on the ground to avoid the attack of the big bird. Then he had 3 bright red blood marks on his face, his eyes were red with anger, and he vomited a mouthful of blood in his mouth. He turned around and faced the few people behind him. The man who was still attacking from a distance shouted angrily. They weren't struggling with their feelings. Damn it, 1 or 2 of them really thought they were young masters and young ladies who were traveling, and they treated him as their escort. If he had known earlier, he shouldn't have coveted the 100,000 star coins to sign that contract to protect Zhou Lang. It was so humming stupid. Zig gritted his teeth, looked hideous, and regretted it. Lin Guiyan, Zhou Lang, and Shen Gafei looked at his miserable state and all fell silent. Then they looked up at the rainbow toucan, which flapped its wings arrogantly and looked at them with a pair of bird eyes full of contempt. It was over, it seemed. Forgot to run for your life. Shen Gafei rolled his eyes and suddenly noticed Bai Qianchun standing not far away. He shouted happily, there is someone there, hurry up, let's ask her for help. After saying that, she dragged Lin Fizhi, who had been protecting her, and broke away from the team and ran in the direction of Bai Qianchun. Zhou Lang was confused by her move and cursed, hey, what are you doing? Are you trying to escape by yourself? Lin Guiyan also looked back, frowned, and muttered, that's right, what use can that person do? Gee. The rainbow toucan, which was still in the air, suddenly moved its eyes and stared at the 2 fleeing prey. Even Zig, who was vomiting blood on the ground, flapping his wings and ran away after Shen Gafei. Zig, Lin Guiyan, Zhou Lang, and the 2 young men on the other side were left standing there in confusion. What's going on? Shen Gafei took away the hatred value of the big bird. By the way, who was this bird chasing at the beginning? Zhou Lang rolled his eyes and thought for a moment, then suddenly woke up, it seems to be Shen Gafei. She was the one who attracted the bird first, and then we were implicated and ran away together. Lin Guiyan raised her lips mockingly in that direction, that little bitch might have secretly taken something from the rainbow toucan without telling us, so it chased after it. This time, even Zhou Lang didn't go against Lin Guiyan, because he thought so too. Then he glanced at Lin Guiyan, who was about to chase her, and quickly stopped her, hey, you know that woman has tricked you, why don't you chase her and help her? Lin Guiyan glanced at him darkly with her beautiful eyes, and said in a sarcastic voice, we can't let that little bitch harm others. Zhou Lang looked at her back without looking back, and the boy with bangs who had caught Sun Li before followed him after hesitating for a while. His eyes were dark and he spat, You know how to act like a hero blindly. It's an exam now, and everyone present is a competitor, so your good intentions are of no use. Then he glanced at Zig, who was treating the wound on the ground, and Sun Li, who was resting under the tree, and said, "Let's leave quickly while the big bird is chasing those people." But after he finished speaking, both of them ignored him. One continued to tear off his clothes and bandage his wounds, while the other pretended to be dizzy and leaned against the tree without responding. Zhou Lang stared at them and gritted his teeth angrily. On the other side, seeing the S-class rainbow toucan chasing Shen Gafei and the others towards her, Bai Qianchun put the small wooden box into her backpack. On her back, she looked at the toucan that was delivered to her door with cold eyes. The S-class ferocious beast, the corners of her mouth were slightly raised. Now she didn't have to worry about whether to continue watching the third-rate romance theater or to grab monsters. Just as the sharp claws of the majestic rainbow toucan were about to grab Lin Fizhi's back, suddenly a huge object came from the sky, past Lin Fizhi's head, and hit the two claws. Lin Fizhi and the two of them only felt the hurricane passing above their heads, followed by a loud bang behind them, and the rainbow toucan above their heads suddenly screamed angrily. They were stunned for a moment, then looked up again, and saw a white figure flying towards them, then stepped on Shen Gafei's shoulder, used the strength to rise up, grabbed the hair on the neck of the rainbow giant beak bird, and swung it twice. After 3 swings, he swung up like a swing, turned over and climbed up the big bird's neck flexibly. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luzi. Chapter 398. The rainbow toucan does not have the hard scales of the forest crocodile, and its neck is its vital point. Before the big bird could react, Bai Qianchun took out his saber. The snow-white saber had a cold and ruthless blade, and he swung it fiercely. A stab in its neck. There was a pop, the sound of the blade piercing into the flesh, and blood immediately splattered. This is a direct stab at the artery. Bai Qianchun curled her lips. A few drops of red blood splashed on her cold and white face. The corners of her mouth were raised. She held the hair on the bird's neck with one hand and held the knife in place with the other hand. The saber struck one after another. Plunging down, the bright and eye-catching blood instantly dyed the feathers on the bird's neck red, and she was riding on it, looking like a ferocious bird-hunting female warrior. Feeling the danger of death under him, the big bird screamed angrily and howled. It spread its wings and flapped vigorously. It flew over the heads of Lin Guiyan and others, and plunged into the distant woods, trying to use the surrounding obstacles to stop the person riding on its neck. Throw it off. Bai Qianchun gathered invisible internal force all over her body, blocking the branches and leaves that were constantly coming at her and the poisonous snakes entangled in the trees. Her face was calm, her eyes were cold and sharp, and the movements of her hands did not stop. Down. It was not until 10 minutes later that the rainbow toucan, which had lost too much blood, gradually stopped struggling and fell to the edge of death. Bai Qianchun grabbed it by the neck, turned it around and flew back toward the pool. Lin Guiyan, Shen Gafei and others who were still looking towards them watched helplessly as the big bird kept dripping warm blood, and finally stretched its neck to let out one last neigh, wailed, and landed on the edge of the pool with a thud. Superior. On the ground, blood was dripping from its neck. The whole giant bird lay there, its legs twitched a few times, its eyes were wide open, and it was completely silent. Shen Gafei and Zhou Lang were stunned, and then they all swallowed. The S-class beast died like this? Is it so easy to die? The forest crocodile a few steps away stood motionless with its tail stiffened in fear, pretending to have passed out. Call me Dad. In fact, it is not difficult to kill S-class beasts. The rainbow toucan is the lowest ranked S-class beast and the easiest to deal with. Its biggest advantage is that it can fly and is fast. It also has sharp claws and a beak, but its weak point is also prominent on its neck. Now this candidate took advantage of its unpreparedness and directly identified its weak point to attack. The difficulty was reduced by several levels. It's even easier than dealing with a B-level ferocious beast. Did you fight the little monster today? Really? But I don't think it's simple at all. The bird was struggling before it died and plunged into the woods. If it were me, I would never be able to hold it steady. Just the branches that slapped towards the face with loud noises would have been very painful, not to mention the venomous snake with its fangs exposed. If I bite me, I will be dead. Lemon tea, the white goddess is mighty. Hey, her clothes were just a little messy in the harsh environment just now, but her face was not injured. The barrage was full of praises. Bai Qianshun, the person involved, had jumped off the bird's neck very calmly and was now walking towards Lin Fizhu and Shen Gafei, who were still staying there. Shen Gafei concealed his jealousy and anger at being stepped on the shoulder, and a soft smile appeared on his pretty face. Miss, thank you for helping us just now. Bai Qianshun raised her eyes and glanced at her lightly. You're welcome. I'll take the thank you fee myself. As she spoke, she pulled off Shen Gafei and Lin Fizhu's number plates as fast as lightning, and slowly hung them around her waist. The 3 shell-sized number plates with their exam numbers on them clinked together. Sound. Shen Gafei's smile froze on his face and suddenly turned very ugly. He looked at Bai Qianshun in front of him as if he had swallowed a fly. Didn't you take the initiative to help us? Bai Qianshun looked at her like she was a fool. We are in the examination room now. We are in a competitive relationship. You actually expect me to kindly help you for free? You are not dreaming. Lin Guiyan couldn't help laughing behind her. Shen Gafei's face was twisted and her eyes were gloomy. Just when she was about to say something, an arm suddenly slanted beside her. Lin Fizhu, who had been silent and expressionless, spoke. She deserves to be paid. You are not her opponent, and neither am I. Lin Fizhu understood that this person was not simple after Bai Qianshun killed the S-class rainbow toucan and returned intact. It would take at least 5 or even 10 years for him to do this. She only took their 2 numbers. Cards as a reward are already considered benevolent and righteous. If there is a conflict with her, they will have to worry if she injures them or takes away their supplies. Brother Shen Gafei shouted unwillingly with watery eyes. She also knew that this man was very strong, but it was no better now than before. This man had just killed an S-level ferocious beast, and his physical strength and powers must have been exhausted. Quite a few, probably just pretending to be okay, but actually they are strong enough to do it. If they take action now, they may not be able to defeat her. But Lin Fizhu had a cold face and remained unmoved. He just glanced at her and said in a stiff tone of comfort, "Be obedient." Shen Gafei suddenly pursed his lips and stopped talking. Bai Qianshun's cold eyes swept around the 2 of them, and finally withdrew his gaze, turning his back to them and walking towards the giant bird. I heard that the meat of ferocious beasts tastes good, especially this rainbow toucan, which is also on the list of meats with excellent taste. I happen to be a little hungry after 2 fights. After dealing with a B-class ferocious beast and an S-class ferocious beast in this area, as well as the hidden king swamp flower queen, the danger is probably not much. After all, the ferocious beasts also have their own territory. Now it is completely safe to sit down and have a meal. Okay. Lin Guiyan felt very happy when she saw the deflated Shen Gafei. She happily pulled the young man from Changliuhe who was following her towards Bai Qianshun. Hello, I am Lin Guiyan, who ranked 6th in the literary test. This is a younger brother I know, named Qin Xiao. You are a big bird with so much meat that one person will definitely not be able to finish it. Can you please satisfy us? Desire. I was lucky. I came across a supply box as soon as I came down and got several bottles of clean pure water. The water in the pool may not be clean. If you don't mind, I am willing to provide water for this meal and me. This brother is good at cooking, whether he is making soup or barbecue, he is delicious. The young man who was dragged by Lin Guiyan shrank back, his eyes hidden under his bangs shrinking. Lin Guiyan felt his resistance, and paused in her pulling action. Then she raised a smile, looked at Bai Qianchun and said, "What, my brother is a little afraid of society. You, the second best, are too bright." The shine was on and he was a little scared to get close. With that said, Lin Guiyan took out a mask from his bag and gave it to Qin Xiao. After he put it on, he followed Lin Guiyan obediently. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lanshan Luziyi. Chapter 399. The bonfire was crackling, and Lin Guiyan had already led the silent Qin Xiao to start plucking the feathers and cutting the meat from the rainbow toucan's legs. Bai Qianchun was also cleaning the stone pot. When she was making the poisonous balls of swamp flower with poison to fight poison, the poisonous potion had been boiling for nearly an hour, and the stones had almost been marinated in the flavor, so as not to accidentally make the soup sticky later. The poison in the stone pot was also boiled out, so the pot still had to be cleaned. The three of them divided the work and found a few small garlic and wild onions from the bushes. A picnic of meat and soup was arranged. The younger brother Qin Xiao, introduced by Lin Guiyan, was really good at cooking. He lowered his head and worked hard. After a while, the broth in the stone pot wafted out with a strong aroma, and the giant bird legs on the barbecue rack were sizzling golden. The oily color and the aroma of barbecue swept over me, and the stomachs of everyone around me began to growl. Bai Qianchun nodded with satisfaction. This exchange of meat for water and cook was not a loss. While waiting for the broth and barbecue to be completed, she couldn't help but take out the shovel made of forest crocodile and dig a smaller stone pot. She set up a new stove and put the swamp flowers in to make more powerful poison balls. Shen Gafei froze next to him, neither leaving nor staying. He could only hold his stomach and resent Lin Guiyan for being ignorant and not inviting them to eat together. Zhou Lang, who came over after smelling the smell, was a bit thicker-skinned than Shen Gafei. He came over licking his face, wanting to eat and drink, and arrogantly expressed his willingness to pay the bill with 100,000 star coins after the martial arts test was completed. Unfortunately, Bai Qianchun, Lin Guiyan and Qin Xiao, who was silent and only grilled meat, ignored him and regarded him as nothing. Zhou Lang felt that he was very shameless and his face turned red with anger. After a while, the broth was cooked and the barbecue was ready. Bai Qianchun and the other three began to drink the soup with a thermos cup in one hand and a wooden stick in the other hand to eat the meat. Their mouths were oily and happy. Compared to the threesome who were not doing their job as if they were having a picnic, Zhou Lang and the others were having a much harder time. It felt really bad to be able to smell but not eat. Being ignored, Shen Gafei's pretty face turned blue and white, but she couldn't help but beg Lin Guiyan for some food, so she could only huff beside her and fill herself up. Next to him, Lin Fizhu was taciturn and did not look in the direction of the barbecue. He just found a place to sit down casually and took out the nutrient solution issued by the college and poured it into his mouth. The two injured people over there, Sun Li and Zig, were self-aware and did not come over to scold him. They took advantage of this relatively safe place where someone was guarding them and quickly took out the nutrient solution and poured it into their mouths to recuperate their injuries and regain their strength. As a result, the only two people present were Shen Gafei and Zhou Lang, who had not seen the reality clearly and were arrogant and unwilling to stand there, sulking. However, after seeing Bai Qianchun's fighting power, they didn't dare to cause trouble here. Several candidates gathered together for a while, but the place was quite calm. Some people who liked to watch the excitement before the live broadcast were asked to watch the fight. The audience was very dissatisfied. Black fighter, what's wrong with this class of candidates? They just think about eating and have no fighting spirit at all. Bad review. You can still fight for another 100 years, yes, if you don't work hard on the task and plan to get the number plate. What's going on? Is this a dangerous martial arts test or a gourmet live broadcast? It feels like the candidates enjoy it more than us, the audience, which is very embarrassing. Lemon tea, what's the matter? It's time to eat. The candidates have made a truce and sat down to have a meal together. People are like iron, rice and steel. If you don't eat for one meal, you will feel hungry. Even a true fairy needs to drink some. Do you're full, you guys are gibbering. Bastard watching mung beans, hee hee. I went to watch it in other live broadcast rooms. Shen Biu, who ranked first in the liberal arts exam next door, was also doing a gourmet food show. He met a cool looking handsome guy who roasted the whole lamb with one hand. The aroma of the food was overflowing. Shen Biu exchanged the 3 hot candidate numbers he had just grabbed for a roast leg of lamb. The food he ate was like a casual, oily-mouthed, indifferent genius. His character was completely shattered. It's all over the place and can't be picked up. The soul of a foodie. There is also Sukan, the 4th placer in the literary test in examination room number 5. He did not meet a good cook like the 1st place Shen Biu and the 2nd place by Jian Chun. He can cook it himself. I am good at cooking. I am making a wild vegetable and egg drop soup in the live broadcast room next door. It is also paired with plump forest crabs and tender and delicious crab meat. It is very fresh and delicious at first glance. I love eating meat buns. Hey, hurry up and order takeout first. I want a roasted lamb leg, then a fresh crab meat, and then a bowl of broth. It's perfect, although it's not as good as the colorful toucan broth. Drink it, but the chicken soup of Gugu chicken is also very delicious. Soul of foodie, brothers, I went to check these candidates who are doing gourmet food broadcasting. Guess what I found? Bastard looks at mung beans. What did you find? Come on, don't show off, let it go quickly. Soul of the foodie, hee hee. I found out that these people who make food broadcasts are all from Wuyuan Star, not to mention Bai Jian Chun, who was 2nd in the literary test, and Sukan, who was 4th in the literary test. After it was over, someone started to find out their origins. This time I went to check the cool candidate who was good at cooking food with Shen Biu. He turned out to be from Wuyuan planet. His name was Leng Xiao, and he had taken the literary test before. The ranking is not low, ranking 26th. I love eating meat buns. Hey, I'm from Wuyuan planet. That's okay, since Wuyuan planet recovered. Apart from pills, it is the most famous food. I heard that the star citizens on Wuyuan planet have not developed, but cooking ingredients can be found everywhere to prevent the ingredients picked on the road from going to waste. So everyone has some cooking skills and can usually run a small stove. Candidates from Wuyuan Star are not very good at cooking. Accident. I heard that old people are eating meat. Ha 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 ha. Looking at their exam rankings, is this the real version of not being a good candidate if you don't love food? A sheep. It makes sense. The military academy only distributes 10 bottles of nutrient solution to each candidate. 10 days is definitely not enough for candidates to stay in the examination room. They must master cooking skills to ensure that they are not. If you are hungry and in good health, you can continue to take the exam, and eating well can also stimulate motivation. If you eat something unpalatable and your face turns green after eating, you will still have the motivation to continue working. So if you don't like food, you will not be a good candidate. Makes sense. As a combination of gourmet myths and gossip punches continued, the audience's attention was diverted, and a series of debates were launched on the role of food on exam enthusiasm, ushering in a grand scene where different theories of candidates' exams bloomed. The military school teachers were also very concerned about this, and they even thought about recruiting a good cook for the military school canteen to stimulate the students' training motivation. I became the richest man in the world by making meatballs. Author, Lan Shan Luzi Y. Chapter 400. After eating and drinking, Bai Jian Chun and the other 3 got busy again. There was so much meat from the rainbow toucan and they didn't have space to take it all away. So Ling Guiyan suggested that Qin Xiao take action. Bai Jian Chun agreed and took advantage of the opportunity. Since it was still early in the martial arts exam and there was plenty of time, I killed half of the bird and made it into bacon and took it with me as rations on the road. When Sun Li and Zig saw this, they also wanted to exchange for some bacon. After what happened just now, they wisely expressed their willingness to exchange points and number plates. S-level ferocious beast meat has the effect of nourishing the body and can speed up the healing of injuries on the body. Zig is very thoughtful. He was injured once because he signed a contract to protect Zhou Lang. It will hinder everything he does next. Now he can recover from his injuries. The most important thing is that he can only participate in the crazy infighting of the candidates in the last 3 days of the martial arts test and fight their way out after his injuries are better. Otherwise, even if he keeps the number plate now, he will not be able to protect himself until the last 3 days. Ability will also be snatched away by other candidates. And in this situation, they are under someone else's roof. Although the second powerful candidate Miss Bai has not taken action against them before, it does not mean that she will not take action against them in the future. It is better to take the initiative to take out the number plate and exchange some pairs. They have good bacon. Li Sun had the same idea, and followed Zig and expressed his willingness to exchange the number plate for bacon. As for the number plate income, of course it was given to Bai Qianchun. Bai Qianchun originally shot this rainbow toucan. Lin Guiyan and Qin Xiao took advantage. Now they are making bacon and using manual labor in exchange for bacon. We've already taken advantage of it, so naturally we can't give out number plates anymore. Bai Qianchun accepted the number plate with satisfaction and weighed it in his hand. Then he looked at Li Sun, and his cold tone became much kinder. I don't need to exchange points anymore. You can also exchange points. Li Sun's heart tightened. Did she know that she was from the economics department and had 50 raw points? Facing those cold and insightful black eyes, Li Sun didn't dare to refuse, and said with a dry smile, okay, then I'll exchange for 2 more points. It's too heavy for me to carry anymore. Bai Qianchun, who wanted to empty him out, could only look at him with regret. Okay. Li Sun suddenly breathed a sigh of relief, then quickly stretched out his brain to touch Bai Qianchun, transferred 2 points, and then he and Zig hurriedly came over to help smoke the meat. At this time, Lin Fizhu also came over with a bag of salt, and said in a dull voice with an expressionless face, "Can I exchange it for salt?" Bai Qianchun glanced at the unopened salt bag in his hand, which was smaller than a palm, and nodded, okay. Then the transaction was completed. Bai Qianchun threw the salt into his backpack, turned away from Lin Fizhu in front of him, and glanced at Shen Gafei who was standing under the tree not far away and looking sadly at this side. Then he looked away calmly, and then turned to Zhou Lang. Zhou Lang, who didn't know yet that the danger was coming, was sitting there gnashing his teeth and looking at the 2 traitors, Sun Li and Zig, with resentment in his eyes. When he came back to his senses, he saw that Bai Qianchun, dressed in white, was standing in front of him and looking down at him. When he raised his head and met those cold and emotionless eyes, Zhou Lang's body trembled subconsciously. Shaking, he drew his neck back and asked in frustration, what do you want to do? He saw a thin white hand stretched out in front of him, and a cold voice above his head came, number plate. Zhou Lang's eyes widened, I don't want to exchange bacon, so why should I give you a number plate? He said angrily, stood up, and wanted to leave angrily, but it was too late. Bai Qianchun's eyes turned cold, she stretched out her hands into claws, grabbed his arm and twisted it to his back, kicked his knee socket, and quickly and accurately pushed him to the ground, making his arrogant white face dry up. The rotten branches of the ground came face to face, and the stench poured into his mouth. Zhou Lang rolled his eyes so hard that he spat out the dirt in his mouth. The resentment in his eyes solidified, and he struggled to resist in anger. But no matter how much he struggled and fluttered, the slender arm behind him still twisted his arm like a sea-fixing needle and pressed him to the ground. The rancid-smelling mud continued to touch his face intimately, and kept pushing into his mouth. Zhou Lang's stomach was churning with nausea as he was squeezed inside. He couldn't hold on for more than a minute, and finally gasped and begged for mercy. I'll give it, please let me go, let me go. Bai Qianchun didn't embarrass him this time. She let go of her hand neatly, grabbed his arm and lifted him up, and then took away the number plate he put in his pocket. Zhou Lang, who was slumped on the ground and coughing hard, looked at her in fear, with a bit of sadness in his twinkling eyes. You obviously already know where his number plate is, why don't you just take it away and push him to the ground? Lin Guiyan, who was squatting there, chuckled and watched the show happily. She felt that the second place was intentional. Unexpectedly, she was cold and aloof, and there was still a narrow-mindedness hidden under her appearance of being indifferent to the world. Alas, it's a pity that Shen Gafei's number plate had already been taken away by the second place as a thank you fee. Otherwise, if the second place had snatched her number plate the same way as Zhou Lang's number plate, her performance would have been even more exciting. Witnessing the whole process with their own eyes and looking at Zhou Lang's miserable appearance lying there retching, Sun Li and Zig felt complicated and relieved at the same time. Fortunately, they had been smart enough to exchange their number plates for bacon, otherwise they might not have gotten along with them. Zhou Lang ended up alone. After Bai Qianchun rolled off the number tags of everyone present except Lin Guiyan and the cook Qin Xiao, she walked to the small pot where she was brewing swamp flower poison and checked the heat while hanging a string of number tags in a good mood. Shen Gafei and others present, including Lin Guiyan, did not dare to ask her what she was making like a witch making soup, and they kept their mouths shut knowingly. Here, Bai Qianchun has become the person at the top of the food chain among several people. Lin Guiyan, who was full of arrogance before, also smartly chose to avoid his sharpness after Bai Qianchun killed the rainbow toucan neatly, and even took the initiative to gain favor. Facts have proved that her decision was right. She only paid a few bottles of water, a pinch of salt and labor in exchange for a delicious meal of wild vegetables and later bacon rations. She could also watch a good show and make a lot of money. Zhou Lang was frightened. After he recovered, he didn't bother to wait for Sun Li and Zig, and ran away in a hurry. Shen Gafei's face turned pale, and she was frightened and wanted to leave here. However, Lin Fei's bacon was not ready yet, so she could only stamp her feet, suppressing the anxiety in her heart, and stood there without mentioning leaving. In such a quiet atmosphere where the whole audience was shocked by Bai Qianchun, the cook Qin Xiao, who had not spoken a word from beginning to end, walked towards Bai Qianchun. How many points do I need to exchange for the remaining rainbow toucan? Huh, Bai Qianchun raised her head to look at him, her eyes narrowed. What do you want to do? The expression on Qin Xiao's face hidden under the mask was unclear. At this time, his eyes were drooping, and his hands were holding his pants nervously. His voice was dull and weak. I want to trade meat with other candidates for points.